on this online platform of OSU counseling class. So today we having with us Dr. Himanshu Sekhar Misra. Actually, we don't need to no need of his introduction because he has been taking our online class since 2 months, I guess. So he is faculty in political science department in Sambalpur University, and today he will be speaking on conceptual analysis of peace and conflict, nature and forms of conflict, interstate and interstate and global, and little bit touch upon the theories of war. So, sir, you can start your session now. Like some more students have joined so far, so let's wait. They will join probably during this class. So let's start the session, and over to you, Dr. Himanshu Sekhar, Mr. Sir. Please start the session.
Thank you, Antarjami, and good morning, all of you. Uh, I can see only few students are here, but there is a facility of recording and subsequently uploading it on YouTube. So I think the essence and the sense of talk is still there.
Yes,
Uh,
sir. Yes, sir.
in
Sir,
the in the last
sir, one second, sir. Just I want to announce something. So it is request all the learner, whoever is in this platform, will give you 5 minutes after the session, and you can interact with our resource person. Like he is so much interested to interact with you, and he want to take your feedbacks, how the class is going on, and what are the necessary thing you can do to make more interesting this class. So I would request all the participants to please stay with us till end the session. We have a chance to talk with our resource person, through which you can develop our different other aspect. Thank you, sir. Please, sir, continue.
okay. So in the last class, I talked about peace, meaning nature's scope, and today I'll speak on conflict and war. Uh, why conflict happens? I mean, conflict happens everywhere at individual level. Conflict happens in the community level. Conflict happens in society. Conflict happens uh, within state, between state, and conflict happens in the international arena also. So why a conflict happens? Now, primarily conflict happens. It's because of pursuit of incompatible goals. There is incompatible goals between individuals. There are incompatible goals between states. And where I'm saying incompatible goal, there is a struggle between the opposing forces. ଦୁଇଟା ଇଣ୍ଡିଭିଜୁଆଲଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ବି କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ ହେଇପାରେ ଦି ଜଣ ହଉଛନ୍ତି opposing to each other, right? So there is another condition also, and what is that condition? Now, in the absence of a collaborative problem solving mechanism, ତେଣୁ କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ ହେବା ପାଇଁ ଦୁଇଟା ଜିନିଷ ଦରକାର। ପ୍ରଥମ ଜିନିଷ କ'ଣ ନା incompatible goal, and there is a struggle between the opposing forces or opposing parties, and there is no collaborative problem solving mechanism. If all these grounds or situations are there, then conflict may happen. So conflict, as I said, it is normal part of human life, it is normal part of societal life, and it is also normal part of international relation. So if it is not managed properly, now this conflict may turn into violence and may cause mass destruction. To effectively and efficiently controlling conflict and maintaining peace, there is a need for a deeper understanding of conflict. Now, what is that deeper understanding of conflict, right? Conflict can be various types, as I said earlier. So from the state perspective, or from the state side, if you see, there are two kinds of conflict. One is intrastate conflict, the other is interstate conflict. What is intrastate conflict? If a conflict happens within the state, then it is a intrastate conflict. What is a interstate conflict? If a conflict happens between the states, then it is a interstate conflict. The quality of interstate conflict is different from intrastate conflict. Interstate conflict और intrastate conflict এই ଦୁଇ ଜଣଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ କ୍ୱାଲିଟେଟିଭ ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ ଅଛି ନା କ'ଣ ନା interstate conflict is more serious. That means you as an individual, you cannot solve it, or you are not the right person to handle with that. It is the government that has the power to control the interstate conflict, where state is given that power and authority or responsibility to do that. And it is serious because individuals are going to be affected seriously, I mean deeply, that they're going to be affected. If the state do something wrong, then the individuals within the state, they are going to pay the price. And that's why interstate conflict is serious. On the other hand, intrastate conflict, it is more frequent. Intrastate conflict kahinki frequently हुए? Because it is non-serious. So what is serious, it doesn't happen frequently, and what happens frequently, that is not serious. So within the state, when there is conflict, then that conflict is manageable, that conflict is very much normal, that conflict is very much natural, and that's why it is frequent. That is one way of differentiating between the interstate conflict and intrastate conflict. There is the, what are the other ways of differentiating between these two? That interstate conflict, it remains without the organized control. That means when there is an interstate conflict between the states, then society don't have any role to play. There is no organized control over interstate conflict. The state is the only agency to control it. In contrast to it, in the intrastate conflict, you will find that there is a organized controlling machinery. There is society, there is family, there is non-legal forces, there are social forces. They can deal with this conflict. That is the second way of distinguishing interstate conflict and intrastate conflict. The third way of distinguishing between the interstate conflict and intrastate conflict is that interstate conflict is more threatening to the society, and intrastate conflict is much more individual in nature. That means if there is a war between two states, here I am using state as a nation state. If there is a war between the India and Pakistan, then the common individual of both the country, they are or their life, their livelihood gets threatened. In the intrastate conflict, you will find such threatening are absent. These conflicts are much more individual in nature. So besides this interstate conflict and intrastate conflict, there is intra-societal conflict. Society भितरे भी conflict चली था. Now intra-societal conflict, it is the result of interpersonal conflict, and which is further caused by the intrapersonal conflict. ठीक है, complex रहुची. First conflict begins within the individual. Conflict happens within the individual. Then that conflict happens between the individual. After that, the conflict gets a social form and the conflict becomes intra-societal. And further, that intra-societal conflict, it may lead to inter-societal conflict. And the inter-societal conflict, it may lead to intrastate conflict within the state. And the intrastate conflict may lead to interstate conflict. So that's the actually, the sequence. The conflict actually individual pakru start hochi, then it is moving upward. तेणु कॉन्फ्लिक्ट सदाबले इंडिविजुअल माने आडू ऊपर को जाई न थाए, ऊपर आडू भी इंडिविजुअल पर्यंत भी आस्ता है. देयर इज ए डाउन टू टॉप अप्रोच एंड टॉप टू डाउन अप्रोच also. So this intra-societal conflict, it is the result of interpersonal conflict, and this interpersonal conflict, it is caused by the intrapersonal conflict. And what is intrapersonal conflict? A conflict that goes within the individual. I think this is right and that is wrong. If that is wrong, then I will not accept it. The moment I begin to think and begin to act on that regard, then I am entering to the conflictual zone. I am having conflict with other. I am having conflict with a person who is opposed to my understanding, opposed to my view. And when the interpersonal conflict, it goes to the next level, it takes certain social issues or problems attached to it, it becomes an intra-societal conflict. So interpersonal conflict occurs with the class of human nature when individuals enter into human relationship. That means a interpersonal conflict केमती start होची. Now when two individuals are interacting, when two individuals are getting related to each other, then this interpersonal conflict, it begins. This relationship and interaction is this relationship or interaction is related to sharing of available resources like food, water, property, etc. तेणु ए कॉन्फ्लिक्ट कहीं होची ना, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होची ह्यूमन रिलेशन लो, ह्यूमन इंटरैक्शन लो. ए ह्यूमन रिलेशन और इंटरैक्शन को जिनस ऊपर हेई थाए ना, एटा हेई थाए Now, relating to the available resources, there is a scarcity of resources. Our resources is minimum. So how to accumulate that resources? That actually the beginning of conflict. So inequality in access to resources, and when I'm saying resources, it is both material and non-material resources, may be the real or perceived, but it causes and provokes the human nature towards conflict. ତେଣୁ କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟଟା କାହିଁକି ହେଉଛି ନା there are you know few resources, there is a scarcity in the resources, and individuals are trying to accumulate resources and making their private property, right? So in that process, certain inequalities or issue of inequality that comes to in front of us, and that inequality, it may be the real inequality or it may be the perceived inequality. Real inequality kon na satare there is a inequality. Perceived inequality means kon it's a imaginary inequality. That means there is no such inequality, there is no equality, no inequality as such, but some group they are thinking that they are being discriminated and they are strategically being made poor and unequal. So in both the cases, whether inequality is real or inequality is perceived or imaginary, inequality, it causes and provokes the human nature towards the conflict. Tamane, there is something which is innate to our human nature. That quality which is innate to the human nature, that is very much conducive to conflict when such a situation, such inequality, either real or perceived, it comes before the individual. And this conflict pervades from interpersonal conflict to intra-societal conflict to inter-societal conflict. तामाने जो कनफ्लिक्ट आरंभ हैला इंडिविजुअल मन के भितरे, जो इंटरपर्सनल लेवल ले जो कनफ्लिक्ट आरंभ हैला, taking into the property, taking into inequality, right? Say personal conflict subsequent period re it turns into intra societal conflict, right? Intra societal means within the society, now two groups, दुईटा ग्रुप एमर्ज करुचंती, प्रत्येक ग्रुप भितर तांकर गोटे प्रकार सॉलिडारिटी रहउची, एंड टू ग्रुप्स they are having conflict with each other, right? And when such intra societal conflict happens, it may further leads to the inter societal conflict. That means, for example, gote example naba, suppose गोटे गाँ भितर गोटे हेव गोटे ग्रुप हो गले, हेव नॉट गोटे ग्रुप हो गले, तेणु आम कहीपर द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बिटवीन दी हेव एंड हेव नॉट within that village is a intra societal conflict. But when it becomes inter societal conflict, now when all the haves in the world and all the have nots in the world, they got united and they try to conflict with each other, then it becomes a inter societal. There are two society, have society and have not society. So this interpersonal conflict mostly escalate from the claims to property to violent quarrels, and violent quarrels sometimes leads to criminal offense. Further, the criminal offense is justified because of unequal access to resources. As a result, conflicts assume sharper dimensions and becomes intra-societal tension. So how the conflict becomes intra-societal? Now mainly the conflict and the property is the main reason of interpersonal relationship. And when property becomes the main reason, then it may lead to violent quarrels. It may lead to criminal offense. In Baleshwar, there is a place called Uttar Balsar, right? There you can find a lots of fight between the brothers for their property. One brother kills to another brother to own the property, and the person who kills the brother, he always justifies that he is the victim, and the victim killed the aggressor. You will find such a narration in Uttar Balesh, right, in our district. And this property leads to the criminal offense, and subsequently the criminal offense gets justified. ଯିଏ କ୍ରାଇମ୍ କରୁଛି ଯଦି ତାକୁ ପଚରା ଯାଇକି ତମେ କାହିଁକି ମାରିଲ, he may reply that I am the victim, the person was not giving my land to me. I have also equal share over my parental property. So ସେ ଯେ ମୋ ଭାଇ ଯାହାକୁ ମୁଁ ମାରିଲି ସିଏ ସେଟାକୁ ଜବରଦଖଲ କରିକି ରଖୁଥିଲା, ସିଏ ମତେ ମୋ ପ୍ରପର୍ଟିରୁ ବଞ୍ଚିତ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଚାହୁଁଥିଲା। ସିଏ ସଦାବେଳେ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରକାର ଜଷ୍ଟିଫିକେସନ ଦବ କଣ ନା ତା ପ୍ରତି ଅନ୍ୟାୟ ହେଇଛି, ତା ପ୍ରତି ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ଇନଇକ୍ୱାଲିଟି, ଗୋଟେ ଇନଜଷ୍ଟିସ ତା ପ୍ରତି ହେଇଛି, right? So when such notion ମାନେ କଣ ନା ଯେତେବେଳେ inequality, injustice got attached to the conflict, then that interpersonal conflict converts into intra-societal conflict. କେବଳ ଏଟା ରାମ ଆଉ ଶ୍ୟାମ ଭିତରେ ଦେଖାଯାଉନି, ହରି ଆଉ ମାଧବ ଭିତରେ ବି ଏଟା ଦେଖାଯାଉଛି। ଏଟା ଦେଖାଯାଉଛି ପ୍ରତ୍ୟେକ ଘର ଭିତରେ ଏଇ ପ୍ରକାରର ଗୋଟେ ସିଚୁଏସନ ଦେଖାଯାଉଛି। ତେଣୁ ଏ କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟଟା ରାମ ଶ୍ୟାମ ଭିତରେ ନୁହଁ, ଯଦିଓ ଏଟା ରାମ ଶ୍ୟାମ ଭିତରେ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ ହେଲା, ବଟ୍ ରାମ ଶ୍ୟାମ କେସ୍ରୁ ଆମେ ଯାହା ବି କିଛି ଷ୍ଟଡି କଲୁ ସେଟା ଦେଖାହେଲା ହରି ମାଧବ ଅନ୍ୟମାନଙ୍କ ଲାଇଫରେ ବି ସମାନ ଷ୍ଟୋରି, ସମାନ କଥା, and that's how it become intra-societal. Within the society, it is a conflict, and it is a problem. Now, conflict at family or domestic level can be managed or resolved with the intervention of elders or relative. जोटा मु पूर्वरु कहली, while I was distinguishing between the interstate conflict and intrastate conflict, I mentioned, if you remember, that intrastate conflict, it remains under organized control. And who are these organizing forces? These organizing forces are the elders, are the relative. ଯେତେବେଳେ family level ରେ କୌଣସି conflict ହେଉଛି ତ ସେତେବେଳେ ତାକୁ ସମାଧାନ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଆମର ଯେଉଁମାନେ ଆମଠାରୁ ବଡ଼ ଆଉ ଯେଉଁମାନେ ଆମର ସମ୍ପର୍କୀୟ ତ ସେମାନେ ଆସିକି conflict को ସେମାନେ solve କରିଥାନ୍ତି। But when disputes becomes intense, but ଯେତେବେଳେ dispute ଟା intense ହେଇଯାଏ, for example family କଳହ ଭିତରେ ଜଣେ ଜଣକୁ ମାରି ଦଉଛି, स्वामी स्त्री झगड़ा भितर स्त्रीटे स्वामी को मारदेला, स्वामीटे स्त्री को मारदेला, दी भाई भितर झगड़ा बेले जड़े भाई आउ जड़े भाई को मारदेला, बाप पुओ झगड़ा भितर जड़े आउ जन को मारदेला। मारदेला माने कौन ना जितेबाला क्राइम बा कनफ्लिक्टा गोटे इंटेंस स्तर को पड़े जाए ना सेतेबाला द स्टेट इंटरवेन्स, स्टेट से इंटरवेन करे, कहीं ना सेटा सब लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सेटा पुलिस रो परव्यू को सेटा पड़े आसे। तेणु दीटा कारण बेठी आसी था। गोटे तो मुझे कहली ना जितेबाला क्राइम टा इंटेंस हो जाए, कनफ्लिक्टा इंटेंस हो जाए ना सेतेबाला आउ एल्डर और रिलेटिव्स माने ए केस को सॉल्व करि पारंतेनी, सेतेबाला स्टेट आसीबा it becomes a imperative. I mean, state has to come and deal with it and take the control over the situation, right? But there is also another reason why state comes and intervene. Now when elders and relatives becomes passive, suppose गोटे conflict होची जोटाको एल्डर्स और रिलेटिव्स माने सॉल्व करि परिबे but due to their materialistic life, due to their selfish interest, due to their automist lifestyle, they don't they are least bother about you. They do not want to involve in your case, and they prefer to become passive. In that time also, when elders and relatives they become passive, then also the state intervenes, and it becomes imperative for the state to intervene. And when state intervene, so basically means the judicial or legal system of the state becomes the mechanism for conflict resolution. ତେଣୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ପୋଲିସ ଆସୁଛି, କୋର୍ଟ କଚେରୀ ଏସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ଆସୁଛି, ୟାକୁ ଡରିବା କଥା ନୁହଁ. But all these are the state apparatus of conflict resolution or conflict management. पुलिस आसला कौन पाई? पुलिस को डरिबा कथा नुह. पुलिस आसला केस को समाधान करिबा पाई. जो समाधानटा फैमिली रिलेटिव्स माने करि पारलेनी, आउ जतबेले इंटेंसिटी ऑफ द क्राइम और कॉन्फ्लिक्ट it becomes sharpened. At that time state come with its legal and judicial system, and this system of state, it is the mechanism for the conflict resolution. And the law itself is the combination of custom and tradition with the codified law. So so there is a social component of override the sentiments of the social sentiments of the individual, right? So generally justice is always pro people, it is not anti people. Justice is not anti society, justice is always pro society. Otherwise the society will not obey the justice or decision, right? So if you see closely the nature of law, you will find that there are two components of law. One is the custom and tradition, and the other is the codified law. So you can find there is a rational legal authority, and you can also find there is traditional legitimacy, जोटा आमे कहूचे ओबरियन सेंस रे. If you understand that our law there is though theoretical legal legitimacy, but there is the custom or tradition is also inherent in that law. So as I said, the property is the main cause of the intra-societal conflict, and this cause has been referred by Rousseau in his work The Social Contract. And in that book he says that the person who fixed poles and around a piece of land and calls it his own is the prime originator of social conflict. जत रूसो सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रे कौन कहउछंती ना एक्चुअली गोटे प्रॉपर्टी को मु बाड़ घेरी देली, then I try to claim that that is my property. Now that's the beginning, or that individual is the originator of the social conflict. ता माने कौन? If there is no property, then there is no conflict, right? So in a sense also Rousseau जोंटा कहूनाहांती, there is another philosopher is Proudhon. Proudhon कौन कहउछंती ना property is theft. That means property belongs to the nature. This is also a tribal concept of property. Property belongs to the nature. If property jodi bhagavan kara, property jodi prakriti ra, then how come you are saying that you are the owner of that property when you yourself is not owning your body? I mean, one day you will disappear from this world. So what you call your property, that is actually a theft property. Seটাକୁ ତମେ ଚୋରି କରିଛ. That is not yours. That is based on certain kind of manipulation. Right? So this is the understanding of Prudhan. Se gote step aguku palele roso tharo. Se kale property is theft. Right? So besides property, there are also other important causes of conflict, such as property ku chhadi salla pare au kiछि bhi conflict ro karana achi. For example, our diverse identity, then the appeasement policy of the state, right? And the third, authoritative allocation of values. So how diverse identity is the main cause of the conflict. Now, in the public, for its existence, for its progress in the future, and each and every identity is very much diverse from each other. So if we are diverse, then obviously it will lead to the conflict. We are not same, we are different. And in the public place, we want, we try to assert our demand in the public for accumulating the wealth, accumulating the position, right? So this diversity of or the diverse based identity, it is another cause of conflict. Then there is appeasement policy of the state. Now appeasement policy of the state means what is appeasement policy? Appeasement policy is a policy of not solving a problem rather than satisfying the aggrieved parties, appease କରିବା ଅନ୍ୟକୁ ତା ମାନେ କଣ ଗୋଟେ ଟିଚରଟେ ଯୋଉ ପିଲାଟେ ଖାତାରେ ଭଲ ଲେଖୁ ନାହିଁ ଗୋଟେ ଟିଚରଟେ ହ୍ୟାଲୋ जो
Sorry,
पिलाटे
continue,
खातारे
continue.
लेखु नाही गोटे टीचरटे गोटे पिलाटे खातारे किछि लेखुनी गोटे टीचर ताको कोन करूची ना ताको जीरो दउनी ताको डर लागुची तेणु से कोन करूची ना से पिला को टिके अधिका मार्क दे दउची तो सेठी भी मु कहबी द टीचर इज फॉलोइंग ए काइंड ऑफ appeasement because मे बी तार टीचर जे हेडमास्टर बा तार जे प्रिंसिपल अछि से हुए तो काले क्वेश्चन पुट करि पारे कि आपण केमती कोन पढौचंती काहे कि पिला फेल कले बा काहे कि कम नंबर रखुचंती हुए तो टीचर पाखरु बा हेडमास्टर बा प्रिंसिपल पाखरु से कथा न सुनिबा पई से गोटे पिला को से मार्क दे दोछ आ जतले से पिला को से मार्क दे दोछि सेतबेले तार हेडमास्टर बा प्रिंसिपल ताको किछि कथा कहूनी आ से पिला भी खुशी ही जाउछि बट लॉन्ग टर्म रे से पिलार भविष्य खराब हो जाउछि so somewhere in that situation also the state or the teacher tries to appease both the student and appease to the principal or the headmaster. So गोटे टीचर जमती एग्जांपल टे मु देली सेही भलिया गोटे स्टेट मध्य सी भी तार एपीजमेंट पॉलिसी फॉलो करि थाए रिमेंबर द कांग्रेस appeasement policy towards minority and remember the appeasement policy of Rajiv Gandhi towards the majority community related to the Ram Mandir or Ram Janmabhoomi issue. I remember the majority appeasement policy played by the BJP, the way Congress criticized BJP. BJP till now it has not given a very clear answer to their criticism. Right. So this appeasement policy is also another reason that conflict happens. Mostly तुमे देखिबो हिंदू और इस्लाम बा मुस्लिम मान इंडिया भितर जो हिंदू और मुस्लिम मान को भितर जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होता है mostly it is related to the appeasement policy of the state. Then the third is the authoritative allocation of the value. Authoritative allocation of the value means basically it is the distribution of resources. Whether state is properly distributing resources or not. We have to see whether the rich is becoming richer or the poor is becoming poorer, right? So if there is a improper distribution of wealth, then obviously there will be emergence of different group, aggrieved group, and those aggrieved group, they become the part of that conflict. So to deal with the intra-societal and intra-state conflict, the state has a wide infrastructural network from executive branch to judicial branch. जो हमारा तीनटा ब्रांच रहिले स्टेट रे एग्जीक्यूटिव legislature and judicially, mostly तीनटा जाक branch, they try to normalize the conflict, interpersonal conflict, intra-societal conflict, inter-societal conflict, intra-state conflict, interstate conflict. Basically, three branches of the government, they try to resolve the conflict, and they try to become the agency of conflict management, right? So executive police रे हमें executive branch रे कौन देखो ना, in the executive branch you will find the police are its are its monopoly sub agent. ଯଦି ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା କି କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ ଗୁଡ଼ା ମୋଷ୍ଟଲି ସୋସାଇଟି ଭିତରେ ଯେଉଁ କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ ହେଉଛି ମୋଷ୍ଟଲି ସବୁ ପୋଲିସ ତାକୁ ଡିଲ୍ କରୁଛି. You can feel the manifestation of state. You can see police as the manifestation of the executive branch of the state. So besides police, you can find the civil servant. They are also playing their role in the overall supervision. For example, you can take ଆମର जो COVID-19 ला जो ओडिशा जे मुखपात्र spokesperson Subrat Bagchi is a civil servant, right? Now he is also having the supervision duty over COVID-19, right? So this is also a kind of the supervision itself is a conflict management, right? Conflict management kahinki now how smoothly conduct how smoothly individual should behave, individual should regulate their conduct so that COVID-19 एते मात्रे हमको affect करिवो नहीं, right? So these are the significance of supervisory significance of supervision so far as the executive role over conflict management is concerned. So there is legislative branch. This legislative branch is, as we all know, that it creates laws. And what is the significance of the laws? Now these laws are to curtail, are to reduce, are to avoid the conflict. आमे जहाँ भी किसी रूल्स तैयारी करचु ए रूल्स गुडा कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को एड्रेस करिवा पाई, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को रिड्यूस करिवा पाई, प्रॉब्लम रो सॉल्यूशन आनिबा पाई, that is the main purpose of the law, and the legislature tries to make the law. legislature law kahi ki tayari karuchi kebal e conflict ko management kariba pai law tayari karuchi. Then that is judicial branch, जोटा आम डायरेक्टली देखुचे कि एक्चुअली आमर जहाँ भी किसी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होची एट द एंड इट कम्स टू द जुडिशियरी, कोर्ट को, पुलिस कोर्ट को फॉरवर्ड कर दोची. ना इट इज द जुडिशियरी दैट ट्राइज टू सी that who is guilty and who is not. It is the judiciary who puts a full stop to the conflict by giving punishment or by giving a order for a compensation. Basically judiciary gives a full stop to the conflict. So when all these branches fail to do their function in resolving the conflict, if there is failure of police, if the rules are not solving the problem, ending the conflict, rather than the rules are creating the conflict, and when judiciary fails to identify who is right and who is wrong, when the judiciary gets politicized, in that situation all these three branches of the state, it fails to resolve the conflict, then that state becomes a failed state. Very often आम मीडिया रे देखो विभिन्न इश्यू आसी जाए आसिकी तापरे इंटेलेक्चुअल माने आर्गुमेंट करंती इज इंडिया हैविंग ए फेल्ड स्टेट इज इंडियन स्टेट has failed. So if you say it is India is having a failed state, then you become extreme, right? Are you indirectly or directly saying that executive branch, there are no honest person in the executive branch, there are no honest person in the legislative branch, there is no honest person in the judicial branch? Are you saying so? If it is not, then it's very much difficult to say that Indian state is a failed state. So in the past, the failed state attracted intervention. So theoretically, at least हमें कही परिबा what is a failed state ना जेतेबेले तीनी प्रकार रो branch जो state रे अछि, if they fail to maintain peace, they fail to resolve the conflict, then the state becomes a failed state. And when there is a failure of the state, then there is always an external aggression over that state. So in the past, the failed state attracted intervention usually from a relatively powerful neighbor. If Indian state will be failed, then obviously the China may attack us, right? So the failure of the state, it is not a good symbol for the existence of the state in the international arena, right? ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କହିବା ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗୃହ ଯୁଦ୍ଧ ଚାଲିଥାଏ ଗୋଟେ ଦେଶ ଭିତରେ ଗୃହ ଯୁଦ୍ଧ ଚାଲିଥାଏ ସେଇଟା ହିଁ ଉପଯୁକ୍ତ ସମୟ ଥାଏ ଗୋଟେ ଏକ୍ସଟର୍ନାଲ ଏଗ୍ରେସର ପାଇଁ ସେ ଦେଶକୁ ନିଜର ଅକ୍ତିଆରକୁ ସେ ନେଇ ଯାଇଥାଏ, right? So if one go to the deeper analysis, then one may find that the perpetrator of intra-societal conflicts are the main reasons for the failed state. Now kahinki executive ba legislature ba judiciary semane kahinki conflict ko resolve kari paru nahanti, semane kahinki peace ko maintain kari paru nahanti? Jodi tume deeper analysis ko jiba, you may find that there are perpetrator of intra-societal conflict. सोसाइटी भितर जो गृह युद्ध लगुच इंट्रा सोसाइटल जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रहुची ए कॉन्फ्लिक्ट नेचुरली नुह आर कहीं जने परपेट्रेटर अछि कहीं जने आको नेपथ्य रे चलौछ रे ता निजर किछि vested interest अछि, and that perpetrator is main reason for this failed state. Maybe state jodi if the state will fail, then maybe the perpetrator is going to gain some power, right? Some wealth, some resources. So when we say failed state, it basically means there is a administrative failure of the state over its people and society. Now state in such a situation can be retrieved with the help of civil society. ना जेतेबेले स्टेट टा गोटे फेल स्टेट रे परिणत होउची कन्वर्ट हे जाउची ना सेतेबेले से स्टेट टा पुणी रिट्राइव करि परिबो केतेबेले ना इफ सिविल सोसाइटी will help if civil society will intervene. Now civil society, it is different from the state, but many times it does the function of the state. And what is the function of the state? Now consensus building. Now civil society generate the consensus within the society between individuals, right? So जेतेबेले गृह युद्ध लागुची तो सेतेबेले सिविल सोसाइटी रो रोल बहुत इंपोर्टेंट होउची सेतेबेले सिविल सोसाइटी setelah civil society it comes into picture and tries to build up consensus within the individual. And when the consensus is built, then the trust over the state can be generated, and the state will continues to exist for the sake of individual. I mean, ଲୋକମାନେ ପୁଣି state କୁ ବିଶ୍ୱାସ କରିବା ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିଦିଅନ୍ତି, right? ତେଣୁ when the responsibility are fulfilled by a bodies of outside the state, then we speak of a strong civil society. Now, in a failed state, when civil society becomes successful in building the consensus, then we call that there is a strong civil society in the state, right? So, आमे जेमती कही पड़ते in a failed state, the civil society can be strong. सेमिति आमे गोटे strong state को भी define करि परिबा. What is a strong state? Now, if the government intervenes in the civil society, then we speak of strong state, right? So, if the state is strong, then there is no need of civil society. If the state is strong, then there is no need of civil society, because state knows how to intervene, why to intervene, where to intervene, but state is clear that the intervention is related with the welfare of the citizen. So if there is a strong state, then the strong state can intervene for the good life of individual. But when the state is a failed state, then there is a possibility for the civil society to become a strong civil society, and it helps the state to retrieve itself. Now let's come to the interstate conflict, right? Interstate conflict, as I said earlier, it is a conflict between the states, and in the political science, state means जोंटा का हमें कहबा ओडिशा को भी गोटे state कहूचे, भारत को center कहूचे, but India is also a state. In political science, all these concepts, they don't have one meaning. It has multiple meaning. So here, when I'm saying interstate conflict, then I'm saying that it is a conflict between the India, for example, India and Pakistan. India as a state, Pakistan as a state, right? In that sense, try to understand this interstate conflict. So when there is an interstate conflict, then it may give rise to war. ଯେତେବେଳେ interstate conflict ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଉଛି ସେତେବେଳେ ତାର solution ଟା କେବଳ war ରେ ହିଁ ରହୁଛି, right? ଯଦିଓ though not all interstate conflict may result in war, ଯଦିଓ ସବୁ interstate conflict it doesn't lead to the war, but still then war may arise with the interstate conflict, right? ଯୁଦ୍ଧ ହେଇଯାଏ, interstate conflict ହେଲେ ଯୁଦ୍ଧ ହେଇଯାଏ. And politics is the method of dealing with interstate conflict. Politics is conducted through diplomacy, right? So ଯେତେବେଳେ interstate conflict ହେଉଛି ସେତେବେଳେ the possibility of war ପଳେଇ ଆସୁଛି. ତ ଯେତେବେଳେ possibility of war ଆସୁଛି ସେତେବେଳେ politics it becomes a method of dealing the interstate conflict. Politics mane kauna? Politics mane here we understand democracy, party politics, right? Prime ministerial form of government, not the presidential form of government, right? It's not presidential rule. So the possibility of war will be much more higher in a presidential form of government than in a democratic or prime ministerial form of government. Prime ministerial form of government re the possibility of war ଟିକେ କମ ଥାଏ. They use negotiation and they use diplomacy to avoid the war. So there is a dialectical relation between the war and diplomacy. Now when diplomacy fails, war begins. And when war begins, diplomacy becomes the necessity. And there are some scholars who see war as a part of diplomacy. Now a war of diplomacy कौन ना जितेबाला डिप्लोमेसी काम करेनी सेतेबाला war आरंभ हो जाए और जितेबाला war आरंभ हो जाए सेतेबाला आमे फील करू माने डिप्लोमेसी मस्ट बी देयर कारण war leads to destruction and diplomacy leads to peaceful existence. Diplomacy leads to life. But there are also scholars, they think that war is a part of diplomacy. तामाने काहाकू युद्धर धमक दवाटा भी गोटे डिप्लोमेसी रो पार्ट युद्धर धमक दवा गोटे वीकर स्टेट को युद्धर धमक दवा युद्धर धमक दवाटा भी गोटे डिप्लोमेसी रो पार्ट टू सम स्कॉलर्स and war is an instrument of a national policy. It is used by state to achieve national goal and fulfill national interest. Now war is related with national interest. War is related with national power, right? And the question of war and peace are central to the understanding of IR. Then international relation le you need to have a very diplomatic understanding over this peace and conflict, over this war and diplomacy, right? Whether war is a part of diplomacy or not, and where diplomacy must begin and where diplomacy must end. So you need a very critical look on this matter. So these questions involve the problem of the survival, right? So in the international relation also, we avoid war and we try to maintain peace, and the main reason is the survival. We all have the nuclear weapon, and we know that I am right, you are wrong. India is right, Pakistan is wrong, or Pakistan is right, India is wrong. In such a situation, ना गोटे छोटो चिंकारी भी दुईटा देश को नष्ट कर दी पारे, right? So peace in the international relation, it is a matter of survival. It is not a matter of justice, right? If you think that most injustice kara jaichi and I have the power, I will apply my power, then the other person can also do the same, and both the person or both the state, it will perish. And when both perish, then justice kahan pain, right? So peace is not in the international relation. Peace is not based on justice. Peace is based on survival. So we speak of Cold War, we speak of hot war, we speak of limited war, total war, conventional war, and unconventional war, civil war, guerrilla war, preventive war, etc. There are so many wars, and there has been repeated recurrence of war in the world over the past several centuries. And in 1968, the historian named Will Duranto, he calculated that there has been only 268 years free from war in the previous 3,421 years. So विगत 3,421 वर्ष भितरे केवल 268 वर्ष we are free from the war. केवल 268 को जदि तुम सब्सट्रैक्ट कर दबो तबे 3,421 वर्ष रु पाखापाखि 3,100 वर्ष we are at the war, and we have done enough destruction. So today the spectrum of war has expanded from traditional military dimension to political and economic warfare, psychological warfare, right? तो आमे ये जो कोरोना को नहीं कि भी आमे बेले बेले भाबू इट इज ए वार by the China against the world. It is a war by using what it's called biopolitics. It is a war of using biopolitics, right? So आजिका टाइम रे आमे वार को केवल मिलिटरी वार बा आमे ताको एटॉमिक वार रूप रे आमे भाबु ने आमे कहू छे वार भी इकोनॉमिक स्फीयर रे भी चली परिबो जन को आमे इकोनॉमिकली वीक भी करी परिबो राइट जन को आमे साइकोलॉजिकली भी आमे जन को वीक करी परिबो सो टू डिफाइन वार the American political science defining the war. To him, war is a waged on the diplomatic, economic, and propaganda fronts as well as the military fronts, and that art of war coordinates all those elements to the purpose of victory. In a narrow sense, war is confined to military aspect. ତେଣୁ କୁଇନ୍ସି ରାଇଟ୍ ବି ସେଇ କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି ଟ୍ରାଡିସନାଲ ସେନ୍ସରେ ବା ନେରୋ ସେନ୍ସରେ ଆମେ ୱାର୍କୁ ଗୋଟେ ମିଲିଟାରୀ ଏସ୍ପେକ୍ଟ ସହିତ ଆମେ ତାକୁ ଯୋଡ଼ୁ ବା ୱାର୍କୁ ଆମେ ଗୋଟେ ମିଲିଟାରୀ ୱେରେ ଆମେ ୱାର୍କୁ ଡିଫାଇନ୍ କରୁ ବଟ୍ ମଡର୍ନ ୱାର୍ ଗୁଡ଼ା ଡିପ୍ଲୋମାଟିକ୍ ଲେବୁଲରେ ମଡର୍ନ ୱାର୍ କରାଯାଇଥାଏ ଇକୋନୋମିକ୍ ଲେବୁଲରେ ମଡର୍ନ ୱାର୍ କରାଯାଇଥାଏ ପ୍ରୋପାଗାଣ୍ଡା ଲେବୁଲରେ ବି ମଡର୍ନ ୱାର୍ ଗୁଡ଼ା କରାଯାଇଥାଏ ଏଣ୍ଡ the main purpose of the war is to become the is to get the victory. Now केवल conventional केवल military way रे हमें victory होबु तार किछि मान it's not necessarily that's the only way to become to get victory by using the military power. You can also gain the victory through diplomacy. जेमती कि नरेंद्र मोदी पाकिस्तान अगेंस्ट रे आमे केमती डिप्लोमेटिक स्टेप गुडा नेइचु तमे सेटा चिंता करले भी you can get the sense right. There are also economic constraints. गोटे देश को इकोनॉमिकली वीक कर देले भी you become the you may get the victory. So there has been no consensus so far as analyzing causes of war is concerned. Some causes are immediate, some causes are basic, some causes are ideological, some causes related to the act of commission by different countries, etc. And each of the causes needs to be explored, and there can be no final answer to the question of what causes the or what are the causes of war. So that there may be different causes of war. Remember the first world war. First world war kahi ke hitila? Generally gote prashna pade. Pratham vishwa yuddha kahi ke hitila? You will find that there is a immediate cause, there is a basic cause, there is an ideological cause. ସେଇଥିପାଇଁ ପ୍ରଥମ ବିଶ୍ୱଯୁଦ୍ଧ ହେଇଥିଲା ତେଣୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ କୌଣସି ୱାର ଘଟୁଛି ସେ ୱାର ରେ ମଲ୍ଟିପୁଲ କଜେସ୍ ଥାଇପାରେ ଇମିଡିଏଟ୍ କଜ୍ ବି ଥାଇପାରେ ଦି ପ୍ରାଇମ୍ କଜ୍ ଅର୍ ଦି ଯୋଉଟା ହଉଛି ବେସିକ୍ କଜ୍ ସେଟା ଥାଇପାରେ ଆଇଡିଓଲୋଜିକାଲ କଜ୍ ଥାଇପାରେ right. So each of these causes need to be explored and there can be no final answer to the question of what is the cause of the war. There can be different causes of war. So generally the cause of war are classified under political, economic, social, psychological causes, and the Quincy Wright, the American political scientist, he classified war into four categories. The first is the politico-technological war, then the second is the juro-ideological war, then third is the socio-religious war, and the fourth is the psycho-economics economics war. ତେଣୁ ଆମେ ଏ ଯେଉଁ ପଲିଟିକୋ ଟେକ୍ନୋଲୋଜିକାଲ ୱାର୍କ ଆମେ କ'ଣ ବୁଝିବୁ ନା when there is the use of technology to defeat the other state जोंटाक आम कहीपर ये जो परमाणु बोमा राइट ये जो आमर गोटे प्रकार ମୋ ପାଖରେ କେତେ ପରମାଣୁ ଅସ୍ତ୍ର ଅଛି, ମୋ ପାଖରେ ମୋର ଟେକ୍ନୋଲୋଜି କେତେ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରଙ୍ଗ ଅଛି. So if you make your technology very strong, then you are having a better edge over your enemy. So conflict may end. So if you become super powerful, then your enemy may not get ମାନେ ସାହସ ପାଇବନି ତମ ସହିତ କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ କରାଇବା ପାଇଁ. So technological advancement ଦ୍ୱାରା ବି war को deal करा जाई पारे. Then the ideological level le भी war ହେଇ ଥାଏ. For example capitalism versus communism, liberalism versus Marxism. This war is basically, it is a ideological war. Then there are also war based on the socio-religious aspect. For example, if you look at the Middle East countries, Arab states, then you may find that the war is related with their socio-religious tradition or socio-religious aspect, and there is a psycho-economics. Psycho-economics means the conflict between the India and China. Right? India and China both want to be the superpower in the South Asian region. Right? So there is a constant conflict. केवल geography को नहीं कि चलेनी, even economic superpower को नहीं कि भी India China भितरे गोटे प्रकार रो conflict चलुची. So these are the fourfold classification by the American political scientist Quincy Wright. Right? So there are three levels of analysis to understand the cause of war. First is the system level cause, and this second is the state level cause, and third is the individual level cause. Right? So आमे एठी कौन करूचे ना आमे एठी चिंता करचे what causes the war. war काहे की होउची, conflict काहे की होउची, conflict कोन जिनस ऊपरे होउची एबे. conflict आउ से ट्रेडिशनल बा मिलिटरी एस्पेक्ट रे war हो नहीं. बर्तन war तारो मीनिंग नेचर स्कोप सब चेंज कर दीची. राइट? So there are three levels of analysis, as I said. System level cause, how to understand the causes of war. What causes war? A prashnara, there are three levels of analysis. System level analysis or system level cause kon kauchi. Now the central argument of this approach, system level cause approach, is that state and non-state actors operate in a global social and cultural, economic, political, geographical environment, where the features of the system determine the behaviors of the actor. Right? So se kahuchi there is a system. Right? That system it is there in the global arena. That system is there in the global arena. There is a culture of the system. There is a economy of the system. There is a environment of the system. Now within this system, all the state and non-state actors they are being guided. State actor I mean about there are different nation state. Our non-state actor about NGOs. So all these state and non-state actors, they operate within this system, and they are guided by the system. It means the system, the features of the system, it determine the behavior of the actors. So there are four factors that determine how a system functions. And what are the four factors? The structural characteristic of a system. The second, the power relation of members within the system. Third, economic realities that impinge upon system. Then fourth, norms and convention that governs the behavior of the actors. So what is this structural and characteristic of a system? The structural characteristic of a system is nothing but organization of authority within the system, actors, and level of interaction between them. That means there are authority within the system. ତେଣୁ authority system ପାଖରେ ବି power ଅଛି, individual ମାନଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ power ଅଛି, and there is a interaction between the system and the individual that constitute the structural characteristic of a system. That means if you are working within a system, then you should know the power the system has. The power is a you are part of that system. The power you are having, and you need to understand what kind of relationship it has been existed between the individual and the system. So overall, all these constitute the structural characteristic of a system. Then the second is the power relations of members within the system. What is this power relation of members? Now this is nothing but the distribution of power. Who gets how much? किए केते पावर रो अधिकारी अछि? All are not equal so far as the power is concerned. कौनसी भी organization भितरे you will find there are different kinds of personnel, and different personnel they are having different power. So to work within this system, you must know that who holds how much power. Without that, you may not function within that system. Then there is economic realities. Now, what are the economic realities of an system? The economic realities of a system is its natural resources, is its economic and industrial development. Now, both these resources, natural resources, our economic, our industrial development, both constitute the economic realities of a system. And the fourth one is the norms and convention that governs the behavior of the system. So what is a convention? The rules that is being practiced since long, and it may not be in the written form. Right? संबलपुर यूनिवर्सिटी रे काम करिवा पई हेले मते संबलपुर यूनिवर्सिटी रो जहा भी किछि कन्वेंशन अछि मते ताको जानिबा पई पड़िबो. Otherwise I may not understand, I may not play my role perfectly. प्रत्येक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन प्रत्येक सिस्टम रो तार गुटे कन्वेंशन अछि. मंगल ग्रह रो गोटे लोकटे आसिकी पृथ्वी पृष्ठ को जतले आसिकी से हठात ए सिस्टम को से बुझी परिबो नहीं. ए सिस्टम को बुझिया पई हेले ताको किछि दिन एठी रहिबा पई पड़िबो. ताको कन्वेंशन तार जो नॉर्म्स अछि ताको बुझिबा पई पड़िबो. So these four are the factors that helps. That's how a system functions. So at system level analysis, following are the causes of war. कौन? Now uneven distribution of power. That's the first cause of war. Then the second, anarchical nature of the system. Anarchical nature of the system माने कौन? ना आमे जो वर्ल्ड सिस्टम कहूचे, वर्ल्ड सिस्टम, ए वर्ल्ड सिस्टम रे देयर इज नो अथॉरिटी. जेमति कि इंडिया भितरे गुटे सुप्रीम कोर्ट अछि और सुप्रीम कोर्ट को मानिबा माने वी ऑल आर बाउंड टू ओबे द फाइनल डिसीजन ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट. तो सेमति इंटरनेशनल जो कोर्ट ऑफ जस्टिस अछि ताको समस्ते मानंतिनी. Then you will find that our global system is very close to a anarchical system, anarchical society. It is because of that anarchical nature of the system, war happens. Then there is scarcity of resources, right? United Nations पाखरे एते पैसा नहीं, right, to handle the situation. the handle the crisis that happens in the world. And there is class of civilization जोंटा हंटिंगटन ए थ्योरीटा देइचंती जे काहेकि ना से कहचंती जे in future you may find the ethno religious war among individual. So प्रत्येक देश भितरे different ethnic group based on their identity politics they will start a war. Various kinds of ethnicity tankar various issue aniki tanka paraspara bhitere they will be involved in the war, and simultaneously they will have war against the state. So this is system level cause or system level approach, and the second is the state level approach. So to state level cause or to this approach, the nation state and its internal process is the key determinant of world politics. There is a state centric this is a state centric approach. It believes state has a greater independence in their decision making. I mean state level cause कौन कहूची ना जो war होची the state is mainly responsible for the war. काहेकि ना the state is independent in the decision making, right? माने state बाह्य structure द्वारा एते affected हबो नहीं. काहेकि ना बाह्य structure एते strong नुह, but state is very strong. Why state is very strong? Na state has its territory, state has its people, state has its sovereign power, and state is independent in taking the decision. ତେଣୁ ଜଣେ ଯେତେବେଳେ କୌଣସି conflict ବା କୌଣସି war ହେଉଛି, that war is not because of the world system, rather than it is a conscious act of the nation state. And within a state there would be both structural and non-structural determinants to making of policies. जेतबे state is primarily responsible for the war, then state भितरे भी both structural determinant अछंती, non structural determinant अछंती. What is the structural determinant? The structural determinant is the nature of the government. What is the non structural determinant? The non structural determinant it constitute the political culture of a state. For example, now if you see the authoritarian government and the democratic government, then you will find that democratic government it will not go to war, but authoritarian government it will go to the war. So authoritarian government and democratic government would differ in their policy formulation. डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट जहाँ भी किसी पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन करिवो, अथॉरिटेरियन गवर्नमेंट से भलिया पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन केबे भी करिवोनी. That is the structural determinant, right? Authoritarian form of government or democratic form of government, they will have different policy. In democratic form of government, the policy is anti-war in nature, and in the authoritarian form of government, the policy is pro-war in nature. Then if you come to the non-structural determinant within the state, then you may find that policy in the times of crisis and policy in the times of peace would be different, right? I mean, say the democratic state, suppose amo India katha naba, the democratic state when it is in crisis, then it may decide to go for war. But when the democratic state is in its peace mood, then it may not go to the war. So that is the non-structural determinant of within the state. So at state level analysis, the causes of war are following. The first, the supremacy of national interest as the central driving forces. Tamane state justifies war, and the justification is that We have a national interest, and at anyhow we have to achieve our national interest. So supremacy of national interest is the central driving force used by the state generally এই argument use କରିଥାଏ. And the second, to divert domestic attention elsewhere, ताମାନେ state war को କାହିଁକି ଯାଇଥାଏ ନା suppose ଏତେ କିଛି ଡୋମେଷ୍ଟିକ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ହୋଇଛି ନା ଏ ଡୋମେଷ୍ଟିକ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମରେ ହୁଏତ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ଆଟେନସନ ଆସିଲେ ଲୋକମାନେ ଷ୍ଟେଟର ଲେଜିଟିମେସିକୁ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ ପୁଟ୍ କରିବେ to avoid the public attention, the state may go to the war. କିଛି ଲୋକ ବି କହନ୍ତି କି ମୋଦି जो ଆମର ସର୍ଜିକାଲ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରାଇକ୍ ଯୋଉଟା ପାକିସ୍ତାନ ଉପରେ କଲେ, it is a kind of war. The intention is to divert the attention from Nirav Modi, divert the attention from different corruption cases. Now the non BJP political party, they raise this point. Now the state go to war in order to divert attention from domestic issue. And the third cause is that nature of society. Now democratic society less likely to go for war than authoritarian society. That means जोटा कि मु पूर्व कही सारी डेमोक्रेटिक स्टेट वार विरोधी होता है, गोटे अथॉरिटेरियन स्टेट ये सर्वदा वार फॉर बा सपक्ष रे ये वार जाई थाए. then the third approach is the individual level cause. To individual level cause or to this approach, war begins in the mind of men. Hence it is the mind of men that the defense of peace must be constructed. तो धीरे धीरे एटा सिस्टम रु स्टेट आड़ को आसिला, स्टेट रु ह्यूमन माइंड पर्यंत एटा पहुंची गला. Now this approach focuses on human nature, especially the psychological factor and biological factor, and biopolitics examines the relationship between the physical nature and political behavior of men. तामाने से कौन कहूची, यदि पूर्व क्लास को मन रखियो, I said that female they are the first peacekeeper, but it is the aggression of men that is they are the brand ambassador of war. कहीं की ना मेन तांकर साइकोलॉजी और तांकर बायोलॉजिकल स्ट्रक्चर एमिति हेई थाए. They if you are a man, then you should fight. If you are not fighting, then you are not a man, जोटा हमें कहूचे मर्दांगी, जोटा हमें कहूचे. So this approach focuses on human nature of man, especially the psychological aspect of man, biological aspect of a man, and this biopolitics. It examines the relation between the physical nature and political behavior. Why men they do and they think differently from women. So another dimension of this approach is the group behavior. And why do mobs turn into violent, जोंडा में लिंचिंग कथा कहूचे. से कहूचे कहीं कि गोटे हठात गोटे भिड़टे एकाठी कि कहीं कि सी violent हो जाए, कहीं कि हो जाए. Now to this approach, it is argued that individuals as individual may not show aggressive behavior. So when I am alone, then I may not show my aggression, but when I am with my near and dear, I am with my family, I am with my community, then aggression comes to me. So it is argued that individuals as individual may not show aggressive behavior, but when they are part of a mob, they are likely to commit atrocities. Now this is the group behavior. I mean, individually I am a very peaceful person, but that when that peaceful person becomes part of a group, then uh, he may commit atrocities. So at individual level analysis, the cause of war are following. Uh, First, a decision by leader in the name of protecting national interest. जोटा कि आमे कहि परिबा जर्मनी, you can take the example of Hitler. I mean, Hitler, see gote war, monger. He's a war monger personality, right? सी सदाबले जस्टिफाई कौन करते ना सी तांकर जो वार मंगर पर्सनालिटी थिला सेटा को से टिके पर्दा पछरे लुचौतले आ सी सेटा को स्टेट रो नेशनल इंटरेस्ट सहित कनेक्ट करि दउतले एंड से वार पई सर्वदा रेडी रहउतले आ तांकर भाषण भी एते उच्च कोटिर थिला कि समस्त भितरे युद्ध करबा पई गोटे इच्छा को से जागृत करै पड़ुतले. Then the second, human aggressive tendency based on animal experimentation. जोटा कि आमे कहबा डार्विन इवोल्यूशन थ्योरी जोटा लास्ट क्लास रे भी मो कहितली फॉर आई मीन your existence may cause to my existence, hence I must kill you for my existence, right? So सेठु भी गोटे वार रो टेम्परामेंट मेन मान को पाखु एटा 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 आसी था, right? That is the human aggressive tendency. We all have certain kind of aggression. Then the last point is the frustration and misperception as the main reason of aggressive behavior. Why individuals are aggressive? They are aggressive because either they are frustrated, they are not happy of anything, happy of what is happening around them, they are not happy, things are not happening according to his wish, or that individual has misunderstood, has misperceived. This may be the reason he may go to the war. So from this analysis, three levels of analysis, you may find there may be different reasons for the war. So here I am stopping actually. Thaki galeni mu. I cannot speak more. It's already 1:30.
All right.
So thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Mr. Sir. You described this three unit of our block one so beautifully. You rightly pointed out the conceptual analysis of peace and conflict studies. Basically, you discuss about how peace and how conflict itself is a instinct of a human being, and in society, if you go everywhere in the world, you can find the people are the self instinct, as you mentioned in your presentation about the Thomas Hobbes as you saw. So it is a sense of understanding to think the concept of the contextualize the peace and conflict in the international arena. You clearly discuss about the nature of conflict and interstate region, interstate global interstate conflict. Basically, the interstate is like between the within the state and the interstate is like between the two state, and interstate is the conflict between within the states, and the global conflict, as you
Within the
know,
state.
it's a yes, global conflict, as you know, it's a broader concept. And when we discuss about the theory of war, you clearly mention about how the limited war, how the conventional war, and what is the nuclear war. Like in the last class also, we have discussed the limited, conventional, and nuclear war in the international arena. So thank you so much for your presentation. So we have 4 or 5 questions. Then we'll discuss. Then we'll talk up with our students. So let's first take the question. Then you can speak with the student. The first question is, hello sir, you are writing, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
The first question is, what is the means of managing conflict between different states? Will conflict be
Managing.
removed? Managing between different states. Will conflict be removed in the long run or it will be continue
Return.
forever?
Second question ଟା କ'ଣ ଆଉତା ନାହିଁ?
ନା ସାର୍ ସେଥିରେ ଅଛି
One
will
second, second.
ନା ସାର୍
ହଁ,
ସେ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ ସେଥିରେ ଅଛି
okay, ଠିକ ଅଛି।
will conflict be removed in the long run or it will continue forever?
Will conflict will continue?
No, will conflict will be removed in the long run or it will continue forever?
ହଁ,
The second question
ଠିକ
is,
ଅଛି।
what are the various possible response to resolve the interstate and intrastate conflict?
What are the
Various possible response to resolve the interstate and intrastate conflict.
interstate and intrastate?
Huh.
Huh.
And the last question is, what are the method of conflict resolution?
Huh. ଏତିକି ତ?
ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ question ଅଛି sir. Basically, it's not a question; it's an observation. Basically, he wanted to know some more the component of global war. So you can take it later on. Okay, sir. Carry on.
So what are the means of managing conflict between different states? Right. So political science, as I said earlier, the state understanding of state is very much confusing. Here, state means India or state means Odisha. Right. So if state means Odisha, then we have interstate council, right? We have constitution, we have federalism, federal principles, we have prime minister, we have Supreme Court, we have High Court, right? We have local governments. So within India, if you understand state as Odisha as a state, then these are the various means of managing conflicts between the state. Police is also a means of ending the conflict. But if you understand India as a state, now managing conflict, it not necessarily mean that you should go to the war. You can also handle diplomatically. But when scholars think that war is a part of diplomacy, if war is a part of diplomacy, then you may think about non-physical war. What is a non-physical war? Non-military war ଆମେ ଯୋଉଟା କହୁଛେ କ'ଣ ନା ଯୋଉଟାକୁ ଆମେ କହୁଛେ ଗୋଟେ ସାଇକୋଲୋଜିକାଲ, ଆମେ କହିପାରିବା ଗୋଟେ ଇକୋନୋମିକ economic war, right? So these are the non-military war. So through that influences, you can manage the conflict, but you cannot end the conflict. So managing conflict, reducing conflict, ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରକାରରେ ବି ମ୍ୟାନେଜ ହେଇପାରିବ। ଫର ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ, ତୁମେ ଯଦି ନିଜର ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ପାୱାରକୁ ଆଗକୁ ନବ, ଆଇ ମିନ୍ ବହୁତ ଉପରକୁ ନେଇଯିବ, ରାଇଟ୍? ଗୋଟେ ପାୱାରଫୁଲ ଲୋକ ସତରେ ଆମେ କେବେ କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ କରୁନା, ଆମକୁ ଡର ଲାଗେ। ତେଣୁ if you are in conflict, then you should develop your resources, develop your national power, develop your economy, right? This is also another way of managing conflict, but you cannot end the conflict. Conflict is an ever present phenomena. It will stay, but if conflict will not properly managed, then it may turn into violence. Now violence, you can find in violence there is destruction, right? So conflict is not a bad idea, conflict is good, conflict is not bad. So if there is no conflict, then there is no progress also. Here I'm justifying the conflict. And the second question is, will conflict be removed or continue? I said it. I mean, conflict cannot be removed. Conflict is a ever present phenomena. Conflict must and should continue. And the second question, what are the various possible responses to resolve interstate and intrastate conflict? Here basically interstate means at the societal level, there is a civil society, there is a family, there is a elder, if they will not be passive, then they can do something so that the conflict will not go to the legal sphere. The state will not intervene in your matter. There are certain conflict, it must be it must be personal, and once it goes beyond the personal, then the relationship becomes very legal. The relationship, it may between the husband wife, it may brothers, it may between the father and the son, right? And so far as the intrastate conflict, intrastate means within the state. Within the state means ମୁଁ ଏଠି state କୁ ପୁଣି ଓଡ଼ିଶା ହିସାବରେ ନଉଛି। ଏଠି within ଓଡ଼ିଶା ମାନେ କ'ଣ ନା it is a intra societal ବା inter societal conflict ବା intra societal conflict. For intra societal or inter societal conflict, civil society plays a major role. But if the civil society is very much passive, then the state takes its own course of action. ଆଉ ଏଠି ଡରିବା ବି ଉଚିତ ନୁହଁ। ପୋଲିସ ଜୁଡିସିଆରୀ ଏମାନେ ତୁମ କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ କୁ ସମାଧାନ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ହିଁ ଅଛନ୍ତି। You should not afraid of police. You should not afraid of court system. And why this police and court are there? It is because you are not able to solve your problem. You are not able to maintain and sustain the peace. So with their involvement, the peace can be sustained. So one should not be afraid of that. Then the third question is that what is the methods of conflict resolution? Already ମୁଁ କହି ସାରିଲିଣି। interstate ପାଇଁ ତାର ଅଲଗା methods ଅଛି, global conflict ପାଇଁ ତାର ଅଲଗା method ଅଛି। But the fourth question is that is the component of global war. ମୁଁ global war ଟା actually ମୁଁ touch କରି ନାହିଁ, ତେଣୁ I prefer not to answer it. It's already there in the material. If you read, you can understand. Material is very lucid actually. So thank you.
Okay, okay. Let me respond to the global war, the brief component of global war. Basically, when you talk about the global war in the context of international relations, let's discuss the whole world, like the NATO forces are involved with the war in Afghanistan, right? This is the global war. The whole world, the members of all the NATO forces are involved in Afghanistan to eliminate the extremist group in Afghanistan. So the components are basically when a particular set of extremist group are in the form of non-violence, like which is impact on the international level. For example, the Taliban were attacked the World Trade Center or two tower in the US. Basically, the World Trade Center is the main hub for all the international states to control the trading systems of the world. So once extremist group attack to a particular thing which is impact on the national or international level, then the whole world, the member of whole world will counter to that particular group, and which is you can see in the Afghanistan, like the Afghanistan, the US and NATO forces has been involving in Afghanistan since 14, 15 years. So these are the component of the global war and the global conflict. So thank you so much, sir, for your presence, and like I really always fascinate on your speak, on your session, on your lecture. So let's discuss with our students. You have want to interact with them. So I request all the learner, please share their views, share their ideas. ଯଦି ସେ ସାର୍ଙ୍କ ପଢ଼ାଇବାରେ କିଛି ବୁଝିପାରୁନାହାନ୍ତି କି କିଛି ଆଉ କିଛି ଇମ୍ପ୍ରୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ଚାହୁଁଛନ୍ତି ସାର୍ଙ୍କର ଲେକ୍ଚର ସେସନରେ, ତାହେଲେ ସେ କଥା ଲାଗିପାରିବେ। ମୁଁ ରିକ୍ୱେଷ୍ଟ କରୁଛି ଦିଲ୍ଲୀପ କୁମାର ସାହୁକୁ, ସେ ଯଦି କିଛି କହିବା ପାଇଁ ଚାହିଁବେ। ଦିଲ୍ଲୀପ କୁମାର ସାହୁ, are you there? Anyway, whoever want to speak, he can speak, or she can
Sir,
speak.
sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes, yes. Please
Sir,
carry on.
can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Hello,
Yes, yes, hello.
Yes,
hello,
I can hear you.
sir. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
Hello, hello.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
And,
Okay,
and
sir. First of all, let me offer a good appreciation that you have given the one example of the North Balesar, because I belong to the North Balesar, so I do have a special appreciation for you. And my gratitude to both of you, sir, and Antarjami sir, and also you, sir, Himanshu Mishra sir. Especially your way of teaching is very, very, I think, effective. I think we are getting so much of benefit out of it, and we have the opportunity to at least clear our doubts, and that is the most important thing. Because I think through these virtual classes, I think most of us as a learners, we are getting a lot of benefits, sir. Really, sir. Thank you, both of you, sir. Thank you.
okay,
Uh,
thank you
okay,
very
Himanshu
much.
sir, do you want to ask anything, or like, or you
No,
should get
it's just a feedback. It's just a feedback from them.
all
So
right.
feedback may be positive, feedback may be negative.
Negative. Yes,
So
yes.
those who want something extra, something more,
Hmm.
they can also ask me in my next talk. I can add it so
Hmm.
that it will give benefits to all those serious scholar or students.
Okay. Anybody want to speak with sir? Anybody? Anybody? Pritesh Sharma, Sipta Patel, Gita Roth, Mukti Saho.
And
Anybody?
they are my students actually.
All right, all
You
right.
talk to you talk to those who are part and parcel of
All right.
Odisha State Open
All
University.
right, sir. All right. Some students I even don't know if they are from Odisha State Open University or Sambalpur University. Anyway,
But
that's
how many your students are there actually?
10 or 12. I think they left everybody.
No,
Some
that's
students
true.
are
There
this
is
Daman Soren.
Gita Ratha. Daman Soren.
Daman Soren,
He
he
can
already
Sir,
he can.
already
okay,
spoke
sir.
with you.
Yes, sir. Sir.
Uh,
Yes, sir. Sir. I am listening, sir.
All right, all right. You
Sir,
already
can
spoke
you
with sir.
speak, sir? Okay. Yeah, sir. Sir, actually, sir, thing is that I actually like to extend my gratitude to both of you, sir. That is what because basically I am a teacher, sir, and I'm learners of the fourth year, and so
All right.
because of yes, sir. Sir,
Good, good.
basically, yes, sir. Basically, I am a teacher, sir. Hello, sir. Can
Yes,
I
yes.
hear me, sir?
yeah,
Yes, sir. Continue,
Yeah.
continue.
Sir,
I'm getting
yeah,
you.
sir. Basically, I am a teacher, sir, and so I am the learner to the fourth semester. This is my last semester, I think, year. So I have been just listening to you in all the, I think, attending all the virtual classes. I even do not miss whenever I get the messages. I attend all the virtual classes, and really, sir, I am thankful to both of you. And actually, personally, I feel that it is very, very useful for me. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Suryan.
Okay, sir.
So
Thank you, sir.
now the time to thank you, sir. On behalf of Odisha State Open University, I would like to thank Dr. Himanshu Shekhar Mishra for his time and for his effort to complete the three unit in the session, 3 unit in the class, block one. So you keep my request and you stand on my words, and I am thank you for your support and for your coordination to complete the 3 units in a session. And secondly, I would also like to thank our technical person, Devasis Barik. He has been so kind to us, and he's been providing technical support throughout the online classes session. And he's been so kind, and he's been so in touch with you and to me and to whole process. And I would also request the Vasis to please do send the recording to our resource person by the evening, through which he get benefit and he get out feedback from his lecture only. And not but the least, I would thanks to Odisha State Open University to provide me some platform for arrange online classes. Thank you so much, sir. The last word you want to say, if you want to say.
No, thank you very much. And but that's it. I think it's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.